歡迎大家嚟到今日嘅 Bloop 啊！今日有兩位嘉賓 ，Brian and Cyrus，Hello，
係冇夾過嘅，咪
係啊！佢哋係好 sweet 嘅，
咁啊，
心有靈犀咁咯，係嘛
？Cool，Destiny。
So 今日介紹我哋兩位嘉賓咧，其實係我哋兩個識嘅 friend 嘅 ，and I've known Cyrus and Brian 超過10幾年㗎咯，因為以前喺LA 讀大學嘅時候就已經認識啦。
Basically 呢三位就我個師兄咯。Yeah。
係喎 ，That's right，all four of us。So 今集就係 USC。
Fight on！Yeah，Fight on！
記住之前我哋喺 USC 識嘅所有嘅朋友，快啲睇呢一集啦，因為可能我哋會講你。Do you remember how we met 喺 USC？ 我記得我點樣識 Cyrus 嘅。
我記得我哋識嗰陣時候應該係我哋 pledge for betas。
哦，嗰啲 Asian frat house 係咪 Asian frat house 嚟㗎？
哦 ，OK，等我喺度介紹翻 USC 嘅 freshman life 係點樣啦。So 你第一年入dorm 啦，因為你第一年一定要住宿舍嘅。係。咁
你係住 Parkside 嘅？
我住 New North。
我住 Parkside。
我都係住。Parkside 係咪 international？
係啊，啲香港人通常住 Parkside。
你咧？
我係 transfer，所以我係住喺 fucking 好撚齊遠，同啲 transfer student 一齊住。我住嗰兩個人，我連續2個 semester 嗰個 roommate 都係 exchange student 啦，即係嚟一個 sem 就走咗㗎咯。即係我每一個 sem make 完 friend 之後咧，冇撚晒咯。
Well, okay, so the first year 你一定要住 dormitory 啦。咁我唔記得你哋可以幫我 clarify 係咪頭幾個兩個禮拜咧就係。It's kind of like a party week. 係。Oh, at the row.
咁 USC 成年 party.
Yeah, kind of. So the row 就係有一條街喺 off campus 嘅，可能幾個 block away from 個 main campus。踩單車5分鐘啦。成條街咧就係 fraternity 同埋 sorority house。
即係啲兄弟會、姊妹會咁樣。總之
係好似蘭桂坊咁樣啦，即係每一個 fraternity house 都係一間 club 咁樣嘅。咁頭2個禮拜咧，就係所有嗰啲 fraternity house 就公開係晚晚都 party 嘅。
Basically 佢係要招募新會員，咁你就要 open 個 house 咧，即係開間地方俾你睇下，我哋幾 cool 嘅都嚟玩下嘅啦，就去招募新會員啊嘛，係啊。
So 應該係有一個 house on the road 咧，就係 like the Asian fraternity house。like the beta house。咁我嘅 story 咧就係以前喺英國同埋再之前喺 California， 我嗰啲學校係冇亞洲人嘅。So 我第一下到 USC 第一日去 campus and 去 party。見到咁多 Asian people 咧，對我嚟講係一個好大嘅發現咁樣嘅。and like I was like 即係我已經心理準備就 OK，I'm gonna hang out with Asian people now， 因為之前係勁 whitewash 嘅，係冇乜即係亞洲嘅朋友嘅。但即係哇，原來 USC 係咁多，不如試下接觸下啦。咁就以前我有個 friend 叫 Wayne。Do you guys remember Wayne?
Yes, I do.
So Wayne sang. So anyway， 我就有個朋友同我一齊住 New North 嘅，咁我哋就去 venture out 去個 row 嗰啲 party， 就去呢個 beta house 嘅即係 Asian fraternity 嘅 party 去玩啦。And I think that's where I met Cyrus.
Yes.
係咪啊？
Well, I didn't. 我嗰陣時冇 join 到個 frat 嘅，但係應該係。through 嗰啲 betas 嗰啲嘢咧係識到你咯，
識到我
啊，同埋好似 CASA， 好似係 Chinese American Student Association。
Yes, that's what I wanted to say。咁呢個係夜生活嘅形式啦。But actually 我哋有一個正經啲嘅形式就係
你冇返學嘅就
都有㗎，你哋有冇返學㗎？
我有，你就應該一定要啦，係嘛？你個 major
係咯，1年1-2次都有嘅。
We'll share some school hacks later。But 即係我哋正經啲嘅形式就係on campus 咧有好多啲 student organisation， 即係我哋講緊嗰個就 CASA 就係 Chinese American Student Association， 就係一班點樣講啊？Chinese
American 咯，
即係總之一班。 竹星仔啦，
唔知點解會有啲台灣人喺度？
係啊，
咁佢哋都
有啲日本人都喺度嘅喎。
咁都係
Asian 咯
係啊
，but 個名係 Chinese Asian 嘅
係
，but 都有啲 Japanese Asian，like JSA or Korean。
總之佢唔會有個鬼佬喺度就得啦。
哦，我記得以前有 cassette，and there was CSA。
CSA 就係
都有 HKSA 添啊
HKSA
乜都有㗎，
係
係啊。
So 咁我都係同我個 friend Wayne 去咗 Casa 嘅meeting 啦，and then Cyrus was like on stage.
I was on stage.
Yeah, you were like.
What were I doing?
我唔知你喺度。
C3
Yeah,
dancing.
no,
You were
yes.
dancing.
So Cyrus used to be part of this really
Cool Asian dance group
好 cool 㗎。They were so cool. Like they were kind of like, you know, when you watch Step Up.
Yeah.
Like that was like the dance crew.
Can you do the dance move for us right now?
Not anymore.
We gotta find those footage 就俾你睇
即係嗰個
翻。
年代 Jabberwockies 嗰個年代嚟㗎嘛。
嗰個年代
係 Super cool. And they 會比賽
But I don't
㗎
think I
嘛。
was dancing on stage on the.
You were
on the front.
dancing, and 即係我哋會見到就好似拍戲咁樣，你去 you go to like the 我唔知個 Lions Centre Lions 另外嗰個有個地方咧有一個好大嘅 hall，and
有
C3
嗰啲Heisman trophies 嗰個位啊嘛。
Yes,
Yeah.
and 佢哋會喺出邊
Other
，they would dance practice,
Yeah.
and people would come and watch you.
Yeah.
That was how I know Cyrus.
你係 fans。
Those were the days.
Those were the days.
Good old days.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So 你下個我哋下個 MV 你可唔可以
你做
客串
extra
做
嘛
跳舞啊
應該唔得啦，我已經太老，太多年冇啊，
？Okay.
可以客串下嘅。
So
maybe
that's how I met Cyrus, freshman year USC. 咁 Brian 咧就係 I met you later, right?
I think I met you later. It might have been actually through Cyrus. Did you move into Ellendale?
Mm-hmm.
I think it.
neighbors, we're neighbors.
Hello? I think maybe, and then I would always hang out with Cyrus and 同幾個朋友. So Ellendale is like a street.
我唔知你一講你 hang out 我啫。
Yeah, we would also wear the same clothes every single day. Just put that out there. Address the elephant in the
Yeah.
room.
But I remember we met because 即係唔知我哋點樣認識 but afterwards we used to go play basketball a lot,
Yeah,
right?
basketball.
And then we would play with a lot of 即係香港嘅人啦。And then 每次打完波咧就會揸車去 like Alhambra or somewhere
食
eat
茶餐廳啊嘛
eat Chinese
係
food.
係
So that was another thing I remember because 我記得我有一次係去你屋企。You were living down. Were you living down?
Medici.
We're in downtown
Medici.
Medici.
Yeah.
哦，又係全部啲香港人住嗰度。
And then Brian would cook food for me.
Yeah.
And 我記得佢有一次係帶我上去 and like he pulled out all this chicken in marinated chicken and like 即係佢嗰陣時都已經煮緊嘢食嘅。But anyway，今日我哋今集咧就我想即係傾下 about life in LA and what you guys think in LA 係點樣 influence 你，或點解你會選擇去 LA 讀書咁樣咯？嚇，
嗰陣時因為其實我都係香港長大啦，咁跟住其實嗰陣時喺香港我係讀 Canadian International School 嘅，咁但係嗰陣時就讀下就諗住都想考翻入美國大學啦，咁就需要去咗California 讀高中嘅。
你自己揀嘅定係
自己揀。
Okay.
本來有一俾我揀係去加拿大，
係
一係去加拿大，一係去美國。
係
咁 obviously 去美國啦，因為我係比較中意 California 嗰啲生活。
但係你嗰時係年年都即係你有 keep 住 travel to California，即係你知係
係啊 ，every year 係咯。
點解咧？係你有 relatives 啊，定有 family？
有 relatives 咯，有
Okay.
family friends 咯，係啊。
喺邊度讀啊？而家係你去咗
California high school 去咗 San Francisco area 咯，都係一個 boarding school 嚟嘅，係啊。
Really?
Yeah, it's called Stevenson.
Okay.
It's right by 喺 Pebble Beach 咯。
哦，正喎！
係啊。
去
中意打 golf 嘅人中意啦。
去咗幾多年啊？
嗰個讀咗3年，跟住就考入咗去 USC 咯。
I see.
Yeah.
What was your major in SC?
Business and econ.
Oh.
Yeah.
咁你咧 ？How about you, Brian? Where does your journey start from?
You mean to go to California?
係啊。
Yeah, because where were you
I
before?
was in Hong Kong. 讀緊國際學校 and then I mean I really wanted to go to New York because my brother and a lot of my cousins were there and I really wanted to get in NYU.
Yeah.
But I didn't get it. So
They
I
made
think-
a big mistake.
Yeah, I know. But USC was a great choice,
Yeah.
and I'm thankful that it all kind of worked out. I think it suited me a little bit better, to be honest.
What was your major in college?
I was interpersonal communication.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So what kind of stuff was that? Can you tell us about that major?
There's just no wrong answer. Yeah, it was really great. Like, how can you do badly at communicating? So I mean, it was really interesting. We would talk about, let's see. Well, what I guess under the umbrella of communication is like there's like PR, journalism,
Yeah.
marketing types of
Yeah.
things,
But
and then
even then, you were already interested in cooking?
I think I was already I liked it, but I didn't. It was never an idea to be like a career path per se.
Yeah, that's a really interesting journey that we'll come back to
Yeah.
in a minute.
你點樣揀咗去 USC 嘅？
哦，OK。咁我 before USC 咧，我喺英國讀緊 A levels，and then 嗰陣時咧就我記得仲未有，即係如果你要上網咧，我就要坐巴士去個
咩？你
town，
上網就要坐巴士？
係啊，
點啊？
就要由屋企坐架巴士入中心去一個 internet cafe。
哦，明啦。
跟住就喺嗰度上網
係
，即係申請你所有嗰啲 applications 啦。咁喺英國你想去 OK，咁我喺英國我讀咗5年啦。咁英國嘅 lifestyle 係勁 depressing 啦，so 我係已經決定讀完 A levels 之後，我想去翻 California 讀書，因為我媽咪喺三藩市住嘅。so 咁我自己一個人就要去學識點樣去 apply for school in America，其實係都幾複雜嘅。咁
即係考 SAT 啊，又成啊咁樣咯。
like 即係我記得嗰日我考 SAT，我要凌晨3點出門口坐火車去到唔知 somewhere Leicester or something，and 我係差啲瞓着咗 miss 咗嗰站嘅，so 係好難嘅。and 你要自己考 SAT，即係唔知點樣 study for 呢樣嘢啦。我 actually to 今日
It was horrible SAT.
SAT is horrible. I don't know what it is.
我記得佢係有佢譬如話就話呢個字同呢邊個字係同意思咁樣啦，我5個字都唔識咯。
係啊，
點樣揀？喂，好彩作為一個 local school 嘅typical Asian stereotype 就係我啲 math 係
勁
easy 800分，次次800分，跟住英文450分，跟住拉翻1200幾好似正常喎，因為人哋通常都係600幾分咁樣，
Yeah.
咁就正常啊，真係拉上補下嘅真係。
依家係咪仲要考 SAT 㗎？
要㗎，
但係個
而家有分
format 唔同
係而家
嚟嘅。
三個 paper 嘅，
哦
而家係多咗個 essay，即係 SAT two。
哦
係咪 SAT two 嗰個？即係總之要寫個 paper essay 嗰個。
Yeah.
係。
And I think 嗰陣時係1600分 is
而家2400，而家2400。
哇，多咗咁多啦！
三個 paper，每本
Okay.
800分都係。
Well, yeah. Anyway, so 咁 I didn't do very well on my SAT in the end. 咁by the time 我去想 apply 咧，咁我已經知我想翻 California 嘅，咁就想係去啲 UC 啦，UC Berkeley 啦，或者 UCLA 或者San Diego 又冇諗過嘅。Sorry, San Diego.
咁啊 Santa Barbara、Santa Cruz、Irvine
Irvine is like 勁多 Asian 係咪？
成個
Asian Central
啦，其實就。
但我I applied for like I remember I applied for Amherst，我好似入咗 Amherst 嘅。
Boston.
Yeah, it's a really good
Massachusetts.
school, right?
Isn't it
And Boston College. And I think I applied there. But 總之 by the time 我想 apply for the UC 咧，我係已經 miss 咗 UC 嘅 deadline 嘅。
係啊早啲嘅好似係
係早啲嘅。But nobody told me that. I was
所
like
有嘢都冇人話俾你聽㗎啦。
nobody told me that. 以前就係咁啦。以前即係你想象下冇手機嘅年代係咁樣嘅。你唔知咧，你就入唔到 UC 㗎啦。So 咁我又好想去 California，and then 有個 family friend 就話：不如你試下 USC 啦，即係都係一個好好嘅學校，but it's a private school，係好貴嘅，and 有啲 reputation 嘅。reputation 就係好多 Asian people。
唔係佢
But
係
anyway-
佢係
Smart
地球
Chinese
上最多 international student 嘅學校嚟嘅喎。
Yeah.
咁佢其實 Asian 以外好多國家嘅人都有嘅，其實就
But I don't regret it. I learned a lot. 我又識咗好多好朋友。
嗰陣時你係讀嘅比較特別啲嘅。
Oh
你個
yeah,
major, right?
I did English, literature, creative writing.
Awesome.
I was like the only Asian person. I was like the only Asian person. Maybe there was like 2 others. And every time 我記得 freshman year 咁好經常會問嘅問題就what's your major？ 即係認識啲新朋友咁樣。what are you studying？ business, film 好多嗰陣時好多人讀 film 嘅 USC 好出名讀cinema。And then 我每次話I do English literature， and then 啲人就係
阿莎士比亞
they're like like
點
you're
解會
not
揀呢個 major 咧？
I wanted to be a shoe designer before。咁
所以就讀 English。That makes total sense。
But 好啊，我哋轉頭翻嚟我就答你呢個問題啦。好，答翻你個問題，點解我會揀 creative writing？
因為你想做 shoe design。
I wanted to do shoe design 。咁嗰陣時咧，嗰個年代咧係未興好似依家波鞋嘅設計咁發達。嗰陣時咧，如果你想讀 sneaker design 咧 ，you had to go do high fashion，like 依家即係 high heels or 即係嗰種嘅 shoe design。So when I got into SC, I applied as an English major because 總之 SC 我入到 SC 我想去 SC and they didn't have design， 即係個 design 係麻麻地嘅啫。But 咁我就開始問自己 what am I really good at？ And when I was young, the subject that I always did good at and I always like 好 natural 就係文學咯。So 咁就開始 develop 呢樣嘢。係啊。What about you guys? What about you？ 點解你會揀到做 business 咧？
其實嗰陣時我係完全唔知道自己想做咩嘅，即係到我畢業咧，其實都未有一個 idea。
我唔記得
What I want to do after。
我到依家我都唔知做嘢。
Actually，我畢咗業之後，我都
但係嗰陣時我係對 fashion 對 design 好似係咁，都係好有 passion。所以我 graduate 咗之後咧，就去咗 Parsons 就補咗個
You went to Parsons after?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know
Studied
that.
graphic design.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I was there for 2 years.
Oh,
係
wow.
degree 嚟㗎定係 master？
Associate degree.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I wanted to apply to Parsons when I was applying, but
Okay.
Parsons 係 LA 一個好出名嘅 design school,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to get in.
Parsons 唔係 New York 嘅咩？
喺 New York.
Oh,
New
sorry.
York.
What's the one in LA?
FITM.
FITM.
Oh, yeah.
No, there's another one.
Art Center. 喺 Pasadena.
Yeah, Pasadena Art Center.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 啲嘢翻緊嚟啦。Shit, man.
係咯，咁嗰陣時係咯，喺 Parsons 又讀 graphic design 啦，咁之後就 and then I just follow my passion， 跟住就搬咗去上海 and I was a buyer for Dior for
That's
Yeah.
right. You were with Dior for how many years?
5 years.
Wow.
5 years, yeah.
可唔可以 describe 下你喺 Dior 嗰5年，你個 position 係點樣，同埋你要做啲乜嘢咧？
其實一開始我都係打雜嘅啫，咁但係咧嗰陣時我有好彩就係我有一個好好嘅 boss 啦，咁佢又帶住我，咁佢亦都俾好多機會我啦。咁嗰陣時因為我係 base 喺 China 喺上海，咁差唔多每一個禮拜都要去中國好多唔同嘅城市咯。即係你諗到嘅可能係哈爾濱啊、瀋陽啊，即係啲比較僻啲、比較
好
北
Q
啲
遠、
嘅。
好乸凍嗰啲地方
係啊，零下30度嗰啲地方咁樣咯。
就因為去幫 Dior 搞 event
搞
鋪頭
睇住嗰啲鋪頭嗰啲嘢咯。
啊
So I got to travel， 即係唔同城市嘅人嘅 behaviour 都唔同。So it was really interesting experience。咁同埋我亦都可以即係去 Paris 啦。咁我每年差唔多係去除咗 Fashion Week 之外，亦都要去一啲 training 嗰啲嘢啦。咁而家係講緊係即係一年要去6次咁樣咯。每一次可能要逗留2個禮拜咁樣。
Oh wow.
Yeah, but I was in charge of all the merchandise for Dior in menswear. Yeah, so I was overlooking the China market for.
Cool. That was
yeah.
a really good experience, huh?
Very good experience. Yeah. 咁跟住就4年前就搬翻嚟香港咯。咁就一半時間就幫我屋企啦，就做食品嘅我哋。咁另外就搞我自己嘅生意啦。
Yeah. We're going to talk about that in our second part. 咁 Brian, you also have a really interesting journey from after SC and then coming back to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you were doing?
Yeah. So basically, after graduation, I was doing. Well, after graduating with interpersonal communication, I think the next kind of step and what that leads you into, there's a few kind of like career paths, right? And I was doing. I got accepted for a job with a company called Edelman, which is a public relations firm. And I was at the time doing public relations for Microsoft Xbox, which is really cool because you get to play with all these like. But I was so low level that I didn't actually get to do anything. I was like, I'd get people coffee and like just do really like small press releases and like it was just so bad, right?
Yeah.
But on the side, with Chinese Student Association and Hong Kong HKSA, and we would always have these parties, right? We would, when we were doing these parties, we would invite artists to come and perform.
Yeah.
Artists like Cyrus doing his C3 dance performances. But through that experience, I was able to meet a lot of different artists. And that back in that time, we had no social media. It was only emails, right?
Oh my God.
So every time there's a party, like, hey, did you get the new email? No Instagram or whatever. Yeah. And so we would go and I would get involved with that. And basically we built this huge database of all these Asian Americans within like California, Southern California, the UCs, Pepperdine, just all the universities. And we would just throw these parties. It's like the CSA or the CASA or Hong Kong Association for a bunch of universities all together. And it was just like
epic.
Yeah, Asia Party Central, right?
Epic. 嗰時你畢咗業㗎咯喎。未畢業 OK.
Like during
okay.
So during that time, I was still continuing to be involved with them. I'd still go to these parties and whatnot. But during that time, we had, because I was involved with them, I had met all these different artists, and I had
like who?
So two of the most famous ones was a group called Far East Movement.
Far East Movement.
Yeah.
Like
G6.
Yeah. And then there's a Chinese rapper named Jin.
Yeah, MC Jin.
MC Jin.
Yeah.
And so those were two of the artists that we started working with. And every time they wanted to release something, they would just come and be like, hey, you want to do a release party together? And then we would do that.
Oh my God.
We would go to, and then over the summers, we would go over to come back to Asia, and we would do like these parties also. There's a lot of partying going on.
I remember when you would come back from SC in Hong Kong, USC would have pretty epic parties at clubs here.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
唔係，其實全部 college 都會搞嘅，唔係淨係 USC 咁樣。
而家冇啊，而家
冇啊，
嗰陣時有
你唔係你而家有，你唔被 invite 啫而家，即係你唔 on the email list anymore。
係咩？But 依家我都應該冇啊，冇以前嗰個 scale。
唔係嗰個 party 先。
Did you go to them before?
我冇啦，我唔係去到我畢業之後，都仲會有聽到有 college party。咁當然你唔會再去嘅啦嘛。即係我老咗之後，你唔會去到，喂，你行入去30幾歲，人哋18、9咁樣。
Well， 以前即係暑假你翻嚟，或者聖誕你翻嚟 ，and they would I don't know who organized. Did you organize them?
Yes, I did.
可唔可以講下 How did that work?
College party life
嗰陣時唔係淨係 USC， 唔係我
join U 嘅，全部香港嘅
It would be like
BU 一定有嘅，我記得。應該
總之啲人即係會話係USC party 嘅。And I remember
即係 one of the organizer 係 USC 咁樣咯。咁嗰陣時係我同其他一啲香港嘅朋友，咁佢哋都係去外國讀書噶嘛，咁佢哋就 represent 佢哋自己 respective 嘅大學，就當係一個 join you 嘅 party 咁樣咯。
因為 USC 係 we have so many students like especially 香港嗰啲，
所以會好容易散好多飛嘅，因為我哋本身多啊嘛。
要買飛㗎係咪？
係。我記得我係連續2個 Christmas 都係搞咗一個 party。
即係如果美國睇 USC 咧， London 咧就 LSE 啦，即係呢兩個就
Yes.
biggest party school，因為
係
兩間都好 Q 多香港人啊嘛，所以你一吹雞，哇嘭嘭聲就嚟晒啲人。
Did you guys 即係你係 promoter 喎係咪嗰陣時？你係咪都係做緊 party promoter 咁樣咧
都唔係，我係即係 word of mouth 咁樣，即係話俾人聽有呢個咁嘅 party。
？Can
It
we
was-
do that again？
Maybe
可唔可以搞下依家？
嗰陣時有入場費，而家就唔
係啊
興有入場費㗎嘛。
That's true。
因為咧，你細個嘅時候你入 club 難好多噶嘛，即係
係
你而家就可能即係 kind of 認得你入到啊，成日開台啊呢啲路路。嗰陣時，喂，你僆仔要入個 club，你真係要有方法先入到，所以嗰啲 college party 咁 hit 係因為你就係去到 DI 係因為我哋教 college party。咁當然係可能係我嘅 experience，可能Brian 可能即係14歲已經開始去，但係即係唔同係。
So Brian, before you would bring 即係你會帶翻嗰啲 artist 嚟香港去。
去呢啲 party 表演咯。
哦。
Yeah, and then so we built up a relationship with them, and then that kind of evolved into a management company.
Yeah.
And then so when I first came back to Hong Kong, because my job at the PR firm was
買得夠 coffee 啦已經。
係啦。So then I was like, hey, this is a good opportunity to maybe come to Hong Kong. And 嗰陣時我哋錄咗一個 album for MC Jin，
For Jin，
係叫做 ABC Jin。
So
即係
okay.
ABC 係我，就係嗰隻。
When
係我，冇錯。
Around that time, like 我係仲未翻香港嘅
係啊。
But one time I came back, like 一個暑假啦，and I ran into you,
嚇
and you were telling me about how you and Jin made that album.
Yeah, it was
You
crazy.
told me that you made it in his bedroom, in the closet, and you were like the producer and shit.
We recorded. So Far East Movement did a lot of the production.
Okay.
Right? So we were at Disneyland, and then we were like, kind of try. So in嗰陣時咧Jin was only doing English rap.
Yeah.
But then a lot of time people were like, hey, why don't you do some Chinese stuff? And then 我哋喺迪士尼翻緊嚟，like 坐緊個
機
the
yeah,
gate
yeah.
And then he just was like, because he's a genius, right? So basically like, oh yeah, and like 喺度玩下，it's like ABC 係我玩睇啲，and then we were
特
like
登
oh my
地
god。
鐵嘅時候作嘅呢個。
And then 嗰晚咧有個 club 叫做 Edge，and 嗰晚係 Edge
Edge，
表演嘅
yeah。
，right？而家 it was like it was Socialito before, and then also now it's a
Bungalow.
Bungalow, yeah.
Bungalow
Oh,
嚟啦
Edge, damn.
Yeah,
I remember.
14歲
I remember.
And then so 嗰晚he like 表現晒嗰啲英文歌 and then
Yeah.
basically he was like, hey everybody, I have a new album coming out. It's gonna be in Chinese. You guys want to hear? And everybody's like, "Wow!" And then he was like, ABC, and then everybody was like, wow. And then we were like,
mind
what?
fucking blown.
There's no album, right?
Yeah.
And then so and then 個反應好大啦 right? And then all the like 所有嗰啲記者 came over and like, oh my gosh, like what is it gonna be about? Oh, what's it, and then so then we were like, oh wow, maybe we should do this. And then so basically what ended up happening is我哋打咗俾Far East Movement like, hey, we have this idea, why don't you do this? 咁佢哋即刻錄咗or like 俾咗啲 beats 我哋啦
Yeah.
and then it just kind of like
Oh,
rolled
damn.
into the album. 咁嗰陣時喺美國release 咗個唱片先個碟先
Yeah.
嘅 but it was in Cantonese, so it didn't do, it was okay. And then we were like, oh well, here's the opportunity to come back to Hong Kong, leave my coffee getting job, and then 我翻咗嚟 didn't know anybody really like actually in the industry, but then just like knocking on doors and whatever, and then I met some record labels, and then we played the 係好似嗰啲like 派嗰啲碟啦 like mixtape, you're like, hey, listen to my stuff, and basically they were like, oh, who's this weird guy, right?
Yeah.
But then they would listen to it, and then finally after a while we got a deal with Universal Music.
Oh, wow.
And then we released the album, and that's where you started seeing MC Jin, and 喺紅隧我記得我哋做咗一個 with the lemon tea, and then he was like,
廣告
oh, yeah.
Wow.
And that was the beginning of the career. So then I transitioned from PR. I was still doing PR, but maybe more like many different things, but more artist management. So that was part
Cool.
of the umbrella.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing. I bet a lot of people don't know that about your
咁你
story.
同 MC Jin 呢個 journey 有幾長？
我嗰陣時係06年翻嚟嘅 and then it took about maybe like a year and a bit, and then 預備 so to get everything sorted, and then basically we released it in 08年, so about a year to get you know, situated in Hong Kong, get to know people, start knocking on doors, get the deal, and then releasing in August. I think it was August 2008, and then 去到 about I think Jin left in about 2012.
翻美國。
Yeah, to start a family.
Yeah. Wow. So you're like an artist manager.
Yeah.
嗰陣時我最記得係有一個MC Jin 同好姨嘅 collab 啊嘛，嗰陣時嘅。
Yeah.
Remember？
Yeah.
即係 Captain Nancy 好姨。
係啊。
佢好姨係真情入邊嘅角色名嚟，即係面薛家燕啊嘛。
薛家燕係家燕姐。
家燕媽媽。
Shout out 家燕姐。
好姨佢叫做，即係呢個係 true 嘅肯定係香港長大睇真情嘅人先知邊個係好姨。我諗你都唔知好姨邊個好姨嘅啫。
I don't know。你太
你都證明咗我老啊而家。
同埋好姨同埋善姨啊嘛。
You're Hong Kong. So I want to talk a little bit more about 我哋以前喺 LA 咧嗰個 social life 係點樣？因為咧actually 即係 USC it's a pretty good school like 即係我都學咗好多嘢 in academic 嘅世界啦，但係我覺得最多嘢學係可能係即係好似佢 actually 佢哋擺到明都話嘅 USC is a networking school. You're going to meet a lot of people. 喺你哋嗰幾年喺 LA， 你哋有冇啲好有趣嘅故事關於 networking or partying or 即係你喺嗰方面學咗啲好咩好難忘嘅 lesson 咧？
哇！
我有冇啲好？
我講先啦。
OK，
咁我 LA 啲人成日會問你有冇見過啲咩 celebrities 嗰啲啊嘛。咁我好記得我喺 LA 係有見過兩個 celebrity 嘅，一個係 Tom Cruise。Oh shit！Really？ 係啦，一個咧係 Paris Hilton。
哇！咁勁喎呢兩個。
Paris Hilton 咧係我唔記得係真係蒲緊，跟住係佢喺隔離台嗰啲咁樣嘅 scenario， 即係當然冇一齊玩啦。咁Tom Cruise 嗰個故事係幾得意嘅，因為嗰陣時我就做咗個 volunteer，就去一個公園度咧，就帶啲寵物俾啲人去領養咁樣嘅。咁突然間咧就有架車停低，跟住有勁多記者圍住架車，咁就有個好矮嘅男人咧，就由個車度行過個公園咧，就去睇 baseball， 小朋友打 baseball。咁我就哇呢個邊個？原來就係 Tom Cruise 去睇佢個仔打 baseball， 係因為個 park 係 Beverly Hills 度嘅，係啦。咁所以啲記者一路跟住佢。咁我記得 Tom Cruise 直情係嚟到我前面去，哇幾得意隻狗，即係仲會咁樣去望一望，跟住就行過咗。所以呢次我記得第一次見到即係真係咁大嘅 celebrity experience 係。
That's cool。你哋咧？你有冇啲
celebrity sighting？ 我應該係喺 LV store 喺 Rodeo Drive 嗰個 LV store 撞到啊 Kanye West。
I saw you took a picture, right?
I didn't take a picture,
okay.
but I have a witness. Vince Chen.
Vince Chen. V Chains. Shout out V Chains.
But yeah， 其實好 common 啦，就係撞到啲明星。But I think 最深刻真係撞到 Kanye West。Because I actually said hi to him.
Yeah， 嗰陣時佢係咩 period 嘅 Kanye 啊？會唔會係？
佢係college dropout。Oh damn. College dropout。And
跟住你問佢咩啊
？Good Kanye。No, I just said, oh, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
And then 跟住佢係all right。跟住佢其實都唔想理我，其實想。
其實 Kanye 真人係咪都幾高大隻㗎
？No, he's actually a little shorter than me. Yeah. 我記憶中嚇。Yeah.
Damn, Kanye West, I would like to. But 我如果
你自己咧？
如果我OK， 我想講下即係 LA 有一個好 like glamorous celebrity Hollywood 咁樣嘅 image 啦。But 如果即係因為我讀完大學之後 I stayed in LA for like 4 or 5 more years teaching yoga。咁開始咧，你住咗耐咧，你會開始真係入到 LA 嘅唔同嘅層次嘅 levels。
In a circle.
Yeah。And 去到嗰個即係 level 嘅時候咧 ，LA becomes a really beautiful city to live in。即係好多人即係覺得I want to go to LA, I want to go to Disneyland, I want to go to Beverly Hills. This is like the commercial side。咁當我認識咗嗰個 really 好正嘅 side of LA 咧，就係我記得有一年我喺 LA， 突然之間 like my friend was like Tom York and Flea are playing at Spaceland tonight. Let's go. And we just went. And 你就可以見到佢哋 play. Just randomly, they just went there. And then I remember one night we went to go watch someone. 好似 Spaceland 啊 club 都冇咗㗎啦。But I was there and I saw Feist. Do you remember 以前有個歌手女仔叫 Leslie Feist? She sings like the 可能最紅係個 Apple commercial 嘅 1, 2, 3, 4 tell me that you love me more. 就我喺嗰度撞到佢 and then 我個 friend 識佢 and I was talking with her and then we talked about 佢嗰陣時佢話 I just came back from a camping trip or something and then 你就可以認識呢個 LA 嘅世界 and then 最精彩咧就 probably was like the Steve Aoki phase when he started having those parties in Hollywood. But we'll come back and talk more about that. OK， 翻嚟咁我記得最正咧就 that 有一年就 Steve Aoki was starting to get really popular. And he would do these really random parties in Hollywood, really small, like kind of word of mouth. And you had to like, I don't know, someone told you and you went. 咁開始佢越嚟越紅嘅時候咧，咁發覺我同佢個 image was like the same 。
即係你係長頭髮、胡鬚立突咁樣嘅。
我係咪有講過啊？之前 Steve Aoki
唔記得咗啊！我聽過好多次咯，但係就
So remember I had hair like down to here and I had like a big beard and then like we used to go to these clubs in Hollywood and then these teenagers and stuff they'd like come up to me to be like Steve like yo I really like your music and then 咁我又冇 deny 嘅我話
但佢又冇話係嘅，
我冇話係嘅，我又冇認㗎 ，just you know 冇反應咁樣咯。So they kept on like 好多佢開始，因為佢越嚟越紅啊，好多啲小朋友覺得 they really liked him and they just thought I was him. And like you remember in Hollywood, like in the big ass clubs, there'd be like a private section, right?
Yeah.
So like one time my friend was like, "Yo, just go in there." just go there. And I was like, okay. So I just walked in, like big ass bouncers outside. Oh man, do you remember the Century Club?
Yes.
Oh, shit. Anyway, so I just walked in. The guys didn't do shit. I walked upstairs and then a little private room, probably the size of this room. 咁我一入到嚟咧 DJ 就即刻望住我，跟住所有人都望住我。They were like, Steve? They thought I was Steve. And I was like, these guys are with me. And I just brought on my friends.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You should bring a cake and fucking just throw it to people.
I think
你
Gonzi
有一
係未
年
有
我未有，我仲未有添啊！
That wasn't his signature yet, was it?
你有一年你 Halloween
佢應該
係
係認同緊 The Turbulence 嘅年代嚟㗎嘛，應該係。呢啲歌你唔記得嗰啲叫咩？
I remember 佢 like he would have giant Magnum bottles of alcohol or something, right? But yeah, but you remember Halloween on Hollywood? Like 成個嗰個咩 Santa Monica Boulevard around WeHo, right?
Oh man, so crazy.
So crazy.
So you were Steve Aoki,
yeah,
right?
I was Steve Aoki. I just go Steve Aoki.
你有冇嗰時相啊？真係想睇翻真係。
有啊，實有。
有
OK
可以揾翻。係啊。
I have
Yeah.
a really
Yeah.
crazy story, which is also like the best day of my life.
Oh wow！
Oh yeah.
Right. So I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan,
Yeah.
and so I had a friend, and they knew that I was this huge Michael Jackson fan. So they were like, "Hey, we got tickets to a private Michael Jackson like show."
In LA?
Yeah, it was for the American Bandstand 50th anniversary.
Oh, shit.
Right? So American Bandstand is like this show that used to be whatever. And so they had a bunch of like, it's like a variety show. So 嗰陣時有好多特別嘉賓, right? And then Michael Jackson, I think, used to do, it's like back in the day. 佢細個嗰陣時, right? But he was performing that day. He was performing like The Dangerous from like the Dangerous areas, 2001. And it was at Pasadena Civic Auditorium. And so my friends got me tickets to go to see Michael Jackson. And so I watched it, and it was already super amazing. Like the greatest performance I've ever seen in my life. And then it was just so ecstatic, so fun. And then when we were leaving, like there was a huge group of people. So you come outside and there's like a bunch of steps, and then there's like a big group of people over here. And then that's where they were waiting for Michael to come out because that's like the driveway. Then he comes out and it takes a corner. And then I start to see that there's a lot of people starting to take off and run down the street because it's a one-way street.
Yeah.
And so I didn't think, and I just ran as quickly as I could because he started coming out in his Rolls Royce, and he took the corner, and then I was running as fast as I could, run, and my friends just like, they were probably standing and they just like disappeared, right? I just like took off as fast as I could, ran, and then he was outside waving to everybody, and I caught up to his car because there was like, some other cars in front of him, and then I got to shake his hand. No. And it was the greatest day of my life.
Shit, man.
Yeah.
你有冇-
And then
你有冇見過 Brian moonwalk 啊？ He used to
I
do
think
it
I
all the
have.
time.
after I shook his hand, I could automatically move.
傳授咗俾你。
So what was it? What? So he reached out for your hand.
Well, he was waving to everybody, and I was like running after his car. And then he was like,
Yeah.
and he shook
Yeah.
my hand, and it was awesome.
Like I remember, I don't know where I saw an interview or something, and people often don't know, but Michael Jackson was a pretty big dude.
Oh yeah,
Co-
his hand was huge.
His hand is huge, right?
It's giant, yeah.
It's giant,
Yeah,
right?
very soft hands too.
You remember it?
I do. I
可能佢由自此之後就冇洗過手咯，
仲未洗。
10幾年啦。
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
it's
That's a
amazing.
very cool story.
And then, I mean, it gets a little bit crazy, but I was one of those crazy fans, so I had a Michael Jackson hat and everything, all that type of stuff. And then, so people didn't see it, but then basically I was jumping up and down afterwards, and his car took off. And then a lot of people came over, and some guy was like, "He has Michael's hat," and they thought that
He gave him.
he gave me, the hat.
Oh shit.
And then I got mobbed by all the fans. They were like,
Oh,
and
shit.
They all wanted to take pictures with me in the hat. But like you, I didn't say no.
Yeah.
Like,
It's mine.
yeah, like, it's Michael's hat. Like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Oh shit.
Yeah, great. It was awesome.
Okay, so now I want to take us into a different mode. So these were kind of our youth, right? 即係我哋嗰陣時，
想當年
想當
年青嘅後生嘅時候，
係喺
那些
LA 嗰啲日子。But now 我哋都翻咗嚟，即係我哋即係全部都翻咗嚟，好多都幾年啦。And you guys have new business ventures， 可唔可以分享下你哋依家做緊嘅 project？And 你啲 project 有冇俾以前 LA 嗰啲日子影響咧？And 可唔可以介紹一下 what you guys are doing now？
咁我而家係做緊太陽眼鏡啦。咁其實係完全係有 California 以前住喺 California 嘅 influence 嘅。咁我個牌子咧就係叫 Peppertint。咁其實每一個 style 咧都係 name after LA 嘅一個街名嚟嘅。
哇！
咁
因為講到少 LA 咧，譬如太陽眼鏡喺香港可能係一個accessory 咁啦，喺 LA 咧係一個必需品嚟嘅，即係呢個冇太陽眼鏡你揸唔到車咁樣，因為日日都咁好天，你一定要戴。
呢個亦都係即係我點解想有一個品牌就係、以前咧我住喺 LA 咧，其實好難揾到一個啱自己嘅太陽眼鏡，因為Asian faces 比較 wide 啲啦，咁係好難揾到一副咁樣。咁所以我又同我以前一齊喺 California 長大嗰個朋友咧，就創造咗呢個品牌。咁咁啱咧，我呢個朋友咧，佢係做眼鏡廠嘅。
哦，
咁就好好嘅 collaboration， 因為佢知道我有 design 有 fashion background 啦，咁我有個即係佢都信任我，即係 in terms of style， 咁我哋就一齊 collaborate 咗，做咗第4年啦，而家。
第4年啦，
係啦。
可唔可以講下你哋個 design 嘅 DNA 啦？因為我覺得都好值得去分享下。不如我講下，因為我都係一個 very loyal customer 啦。
好啊。
So thank you Peppertint for 即係咁多年，你哋由第一個 design 開始都 sponsor 我啲 design 啦。
其實 Alex 你都好 supportive since day one。
Yeah，and Well, for me, like I always like the touch of LA， 因為即係你會見到個眼鏡入邊咧 ，like 我記得之前有嗰啲街名㗎嘛，係咪 ？Like like you had like places
Wilshire
like
Boulevard.
Wilshire,
呢一副係咩啊
Santa Monica,
呢個叫做 Palms 咯
Palms.
，yeah。
Oh, do you remember that Thai restaurant in Hollywood called Palms?
Yeah. Was it there the Elvis?
Yeah, there was
The
a,
Elvis
there
guy?
was a Thai guy impersonating Elvis there. It
Yeah.
was like the best experience. 有個泰國佬扮晒貓王咁樣唱 Elvis 啲歌 when you're eating Thai food.
真
So
係
funny.
幾好啊！
係啊。
So like, but I always like the coloring because usually 即係之前咧眼鏡設計咧 it was a little bit 即係一係黑色，一係灰色，一係啡色。But 你哋會 incorporate 啲 like orange 啊，啲好 colourful 嘅顏色啊。And like even this one, like kind of transparent green and stuff.
係
Yeah, and I always like that kind of detail. There's a lot of attention to detail. Like there's a palm tree in the nose bridge here.
咁同埋個 tip 咧，你見到一個紅色 tip 咧，其實呢個係 represent California 嗰個 flag 咯。你會見到有個 bear 嗰個 California flag。
That's right. So 依家嚟緊what are you guys up to？我知道你嚟緊有個新 campaign and stuff， 可唔可以話俾啲人聽？其實邊度可以買到你哋個牌子，同埋嚟緊你哋會有啲咩
而家
plan 呢？
而家主要我哋都係主推我哋個 website 啦 at Peppertint.com。咁我哋亦都喺內地就亦都有賣啦，喺個 Tmall 亦都有賣啦。咁其實我哋而家個 plan 咧都係即係每一個月會出一個新款啦 online。咁我哋都每一個月出一個新款。咁我哋而家主要都係即係靠我哋 social media 去 promote 我哋個 branding 啦。And then 而家嚟緊我哋就鋪排緊一個新嘅 campaign。咁呢個 campaign 就係叫做 Be You Do You。So 都好 self-explanatory 啦，即係都想即係 promote everybody to be original。Be yourself and do what you love。咁我就而家就鋪排緊揾緊一啲represent 到呢啲 key elements 嘅人嚟到去幫我去呈現呢個 brand message 咯。
期待。咁一陣間我都會問 Brian，but what is your main goal for Peppertint? Where do you see Peppertint in 10 years' time? What do you guys 即係最想 achieve 到係咩咧
So 不如我講一講，即係其實 Peppertint is a play of word with peppermint。And peppermint 呢一個植物咧，其實係一種係可以喺世界各地任何一個角落都可以生長到嘅。So this is my goal to kind of have Peppertint grow anywhere around the world. Yeah, not just in Asia. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cyrus. So, can you tell us about after your artist management experience, how did you get into F&B and what are you doing?
So basically, after Far East Movement, after we were managing them for a while, we signed them to Interscope. And then Jin was in Hong Kong and we were working together. He eventually left to go back to the States. And then I found myself, with an artist to manage. So kind of very quickly, just we transitioned into a production studio, started producing for other artists, for other record labels, produce music. So we would assign producers rather than artists. But I don't read or write music at all. So it got to a point where all of the producers that we had signed were super busy, and we couldn't really take on much work. So my role, I found myself with a lot of time because I was more business development, trying to get new jobs for them. But there was nothing to do already. They were already like fully booked. So then I had a lot of time on my hands, and some friends wanted to open up a restaurant, and I was like, hey, why not? It seems like something fun to do. And then so I opened my first restaurant with a few partners called Three Monkeys.
Three Monkeys.
Yeah, Japanese yakitori place, right?
Yeah. And that was kind of loosely based off of our experiences. There was a place in LA called Katana, which is on Sunset Boulevard. And it was cool Japanese food, Japanese cocktails. And we were like, hey, that was really cool. You should go to that all the time. but there's nothing like that in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So it kind of was the inspiration for that.
Yeah.
That did quite well, and
It's still there, right?
It closed last year.
Oh.
Our first lease term ran out, and then it just didn't really make sense to continue. The landlord kind of jacked up the rent, and then
Yep.
so we had other projects. And then after 6 months, when when Three Monkeys was up and running, it was smooth. So it was like kind of like autopilot. I decided to travel, and I had never been to Vietnam before. So I had in LA. There's a lot of
Oh my God.
pho noodles.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
Can we just segue into LA food for a minute? We'll come back to your story. Oh my God.
OK，LA 嘢食
Oh my God. So before 我哋開始傾下你個 food and beverage 嘅發展啦 let's brief our audience about food in LA because 我覺得 food in LA 咧係哇 it's like an education 即係我去 LA 讀大學 but 其實我喺 LA 食嘢係學更加多嘢嘅 because OK 淨係講 Vietnamese food 啦，嗱 LA 咧你有分韓國 style 嘅越南菜，你有分 Chinese 唐人街嘅越南菜，and you have 正宗嘅越南嘅菜，and then you have like 泰國嘅 interpretation of 越南菜。
我就知佢全部啲名咧，永遠都係一個 for 加一個 number 咯，
係
即係 for 193，係啊，總之就係嗰個加幾多號咧，你就加個 number 落去，咁就成為嗰間越南文嘅名㗎。
去到個地步就係之後咧 ，there was like hipster pho。Do you remember? Like 開始 Sunset Boulevard, like Silver Lake 啲 hipster 啲鬼佬都搞埋越南菜咁樣嘅。
Vegan.
Yeah, vegan pho, all sorts of pho.
Yeah.
But oh my God, pho in LA was so good, right?
Unbelievable.
So it must have had an impact. Did it have an
yeah.
influence on your idea, conceptualize?
I mean, I knew that I loved pho, so and Vietnamese food. Well, what I thought Vietnamese food was just pho, right?
Yeah.
So I only knew pho, I knew banh mi, I knew spring rolls. That's it. I was like, oh, that's Vietnamese food, right? But then, so I was like, oh, I want to go to Vietnam because I'd never been there before. But I remember I loved it when I was in LA.
Yeah.
So then I traveled there because I had time, and then I went there. I was like, wow, Vietnam has more food than just pho, banh mi, and spring rolls, right? And it was super naive, right? But and then I discovered all this Vietnamese food, and while I was traveling in Vietnam.
Were you always like that, like a very adventurous eater, like?
Yeah,
or-
I guess so.
Yeah?
I mean, I would like to, I kind of, if somebody likes it, I'll always kind of try it, right?
Yeah.
Even things that I didn't like before, like for example, like lao lin, right?
Yeah.
I hated it.
Yeah.
But I would always be like, why do people love it? So anytime there would be, I would have some around, I would be like, okay, I'll try it this time.
Yeah.
And then now I've somehow
Acquired a taste
acquired
for
the
it.
taste, and I really love it.
So yeah, so something about this time when you went to Vietnam changed your life.
Yes, and my career path and just everything. So I went to go travel to eat and to discover everything, and I was originally wanted to eat pho noodles, but then I started doing research and I was like, wow, there's actually so much more to Vietnamese food than pho and banh mi and stuff. And so there's something called bun. So what a lot of people don't know is that pho actually is not like the whole dish. It refers to pho translates to hor fun.
Oh,
right.
淨係講個河粉嘅啫，係啦。
Okay.
But then so there's pho bo, which is like beef,
Okay.
and pho ga, which is like
Chicken.
Chicken.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And then so there's a lot of different stuff that you can do, and then so there's something called bun, which is like mycene or vermicelli.
Okay.
So other than pho, the next I think more popular thing is called bun, but I didn't even know what it was. Like I know like lo mong, but I didn't really know what it was. So I tried all these different buns, and wow, it was amazing. So I met this lady that would do a daily rotation of different soups or different bun noodles, and her name is the Lunch Lady. So she was really popular. She was on Anthony Bourdain's No Reservations, and so I was like, oh, I'm going to go eat at her place every single day. Somehow, long story short, I convinced her to teach me how to cook.
How did you convince her?
How many days have you
to teach you.
keep going until you become friends with her and willing to teach you the recipe?
So originally I was gonna fly. I was gonna spend 3 weeks in Vietnam,
Yeah.
and it was gonna be all up and down Vietnam, like the whole country. So from north to south. But then when I got to Ho Chi Minh City, I was like, well, actually, like there's so much you could do in this city that I don't want to go travel anywhere else. I'm just gonna spend the time here. And so I think for a lot of tourists, they would they would go to like a place, and if it's very popular, especially like the lunch lady spot, they might go for like a day or maybe 2 days, but that's it, you know, and then they go travel to the next place. But I had 3 weeks to spend, and
Every single day you go?
yeah, every single day I went, because every single day was a new noodle soup, right?
Yeah.
And she only serves one noodle soup each day.
I see.
So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna eat other people's stuff, but I'm just gonna go to her, and it's gonna be like a crash course into Vietnamese cuisine.
Wow, that's really interesting.
And then so I think the first day, second day, third day, fourth day, and then she was just like, "Who's this weird guy?" And, like, and then so I would go and I'd like look at things and take pictures, and then I'd ask her like, "Hey, do you teach people?" And she's like, "No, like get away from me," right?
Yeah.
And then but I'd travel and eat to like other ladies' stalls and other things and other restaurants. I met this other grandma named Ba Sao, and I learned from her. She did a weekday soup and a weekend soup, and so I learned from her. When she agreed to teach me, I hired a translator from a local university, like a student, and then I was able to learn how to cook. And then I would take the stuff that I was learning and I'd bring it back to the lunch lady because I was still going there every day. And then she would try it and she'd like, okay, like it's good, but maybe do this. And I could start to have a conversation with her because, I had the translator. Right?
That's really out. Like just hearing your story, that's really outgoing, no? Because like, you don't often like, hey, here's some food I made.
Yeah.
Try it out.
同埋我可以講多少少 lunch lady 嗰個 setting 係點樣嘅，因為so I follow Brian's 嗰個 travel list，我去就全部都好 Q 正。咁 lunch lady 就係一個 highlight 嚟，一定要去啦。咁啊去到3個男仔坐低，你係唔使要嗌嘢㗎。佢會自動會上嘢㗎。
OK，
你佢冇得揀嘅，因為佢 basically 你又會問有粉啦，佢即係啲隔離仲有啲蝦餅snacks 啊、汁餅咁樣，佢唯一會問你一個問題 beer or coconut， 即係你飲乜嘢啊？咁係得一個問題，仲要得一個人淨係識講呢兩個字嘅啫，其他全部都講唔到英文嘅。咁你就食嗰跟住就係踎喺個地下，唔係踎，即係坐喺好矮嗰啲凳仔啦，咁有啲好矮嗰啲台仔啦，喺度佢係一個intersection 咁啊，即係個十字路口，跟住就坐喺度街度食噶咯喎，咁樣跟住你嚟到食，哇！點解可以個 presentation 咁靚嘅咧？喺個街邊檔嗰碗粉，即係佢係好多餸啦，全部係有晒 plating 有晒成，係好 impressive 嘅，放喺個街邊檔。跟住食完晒所有嘢之後，係50蚊一個人咯，港紙係啊，已經係最貴嗰餐 lunch 嚟嘅啦，我想講係啊。
OK。
你可以繼續你嗰個。
So yeah, basically, I started learning. So then she tried to eat the stuff. I had a dialogue with her.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, so why are you so interested in learning about this stuff? And I mean, yeah, it was outgoing, but to be honest, I was just bored. I was there by myself, right?
Yeah.
And then like, it was just something to do.
I see.
Yeah, and then I learned how to ride a motorbike, just like driving around, but you get bored a little bit, right? And then then I took it to her, and then she would try, and she's like, okay, it's pretty good, but maybe change this. And then so slowly, kind of organically, she was starting to teach me, and then she was giving me feedback. And then after a while, like another week went by, then she like, then we were we'd have conversations, and then near the end of it, she's like, hey, you know what? I'm kind of teaching you already, and you seem like a nice guy. Like, why don't I teach you for real? Because I'm kind of teaching you already. And I was like, great, but I'm leaving, right? And then she's like, okay, so when can you come back? So then I scheduled to come back the next month, and then the same thing again, like the following month, and pretty much almost every other month or every couple months for the next like 3 years or so.
Whoa.
Yeah. But it was not because like it eventually turned into a business opportunity.
Yeah.
But it was never to want. Like I never wanted to like. I never learned with the intention to open a restaurant.
Am I right in saying you did it more because you wanted to share what you learned over there here?
I mean, I learned because it was an amazing opportunity. Like, when are you gonna go and meet a lady that's super nice, that cooks amazing food, that's kind of taking you in. And she became like her, and she works with her family, right? So they became like my Vietnamese family. And they would take me in, and they were super nice.
Yeah.
We would go back to their hometown and meet their parents and like go. So it was a really unique opportunity that I thought I would never be able to experience again, right? And the food is amazing, so.
Yeah. So at what moment in this journey did you have the idea of like, oh, let's try to open a restaurant in Hong Kong with this cuisine, with this thing that you learned?
Yeah, so it was, there's a guy that made her, well, she was already quite famous, which is why he went to her. But Anthony Bourdain, he's a travel show writer, host. And so he was going to do this big like marketplace called the Bourdain Market, and it was supposed to be in New York City. And it was originally the concept was 130 vendors from around the world, curated by him, his favorite spaces. And then he wrote like it was big news because he's super popular and he has like really good taste. And then he wrote a top 10 wish list of different vendors that he wanted. And in this top 10 wish list, there was the lunch lady. And also, I mean, other ones like in Hong Kong, he really loves Hong Kong as well. So like Ma Eun-gae was one of them.
Oh, really?
Right. And so there's a Tim Ho Wan and like so these were some of the top 10 wish lists. And then I called her. I was like, oh my gosh, you're gonna go to New York. And she's like, no, I'm not. Like I have my family here and all this type of stuff. And she's like, but you should go like on my behalf. And then she's like, I don't speak English, blah, blah, blah. And so I reached out to the Bourdain people, and then they were like, yes, this is the whole reason why we're doing this. And so we were planning to do this, open up, the lunch ladies' noodles or whatever in this Bourdain market in New York City. But then it got delayed because it's a huge project, delayed. And then I think at the end of it, it was like 2 years until it was supposed to open. And so I was like, okay, well, while we're waiting for it to open, why don't I look in Hong Kong, and if I'll open up something if I find a nice space, and then I'll be ready for New York when it happens.
Kind of like just a trial step, kind of see how it might be interpreted in a more Western setting.
And then also when I was learning, I was cooking on the side of the street, right, with charcoal grills. So like transitioning and turning it into like an actual restaurant that could serve more people and add technology to it, and kind of like we didn't have weight scales, so it was very like. Is like, oh, like maybe a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And we're like, wait, how do you do that? Right? So this way, it would be a way to kind of like create all the recipes, write them down, and actually.
Instead of 係一執呢個同埋一執嗰個，what is 一執？即係 yeah, you have to like kind of put a quantity in it.
Wow.
Yeah. So then it was like a good opportunity. I found a spot that I was like, wow, this is really cool. It's on Gao Yu Fong, and basically it's next to the park. I was like, wow, this kind of like has like a very cool vibe, similar to like
Ko Tan,
which means Miss Tan or Madame Tan, which is her real name. Like her name is Tan. So I named it after her, opened the place, and then there you go. And
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
That's a really cool story.
Yeah, thanks, man.
But now, what are you guys doing with Ko Tan? You are in
Base Hall.
Base Hall.
It's a new place. So it's been about 3 years now that we've opened Ko Tan, and we got invited to open in a food court called Base Hall, which is in the
喺中環炸怡和大廈，即係好多窿窿嗰個大廈啦，係啦。
High basement, and then so they invited a bunch of different vendors to come in, kind of like the Bourdain Market.
Did that Bourdain Market ever happen?
It didn't. It kind of fell through, and then he passed away, unfortunately. So it didn't happen. But so then now we moved into there. So we have our second location, but it's more of a food stall rather than a full-blown restaurant. And then another one. While I was on Gao Yu Fong, one of my neighbors is a guy named Barry, and he's a Singaporean guy, but he was cooking French fine dining food or contemporary European. There's a restaurant called Beat that didn't make it through after 2.5 years. They closed down recently in April, but we formed a friendship over being neighbors for the last like 2.5 years, and we would always talk about food. And I randomly had spent 6 months in Malaysia, and I learned about the food when I was there, and so we would talk about things. And so one of the things that we would talk about are like famous dishes that would have on the side of the street. one of them was like laksa, one of them was like nasi lemak. And so the new concept that I just opened at Base Hall is called Return of Lemak.
Return of Lemak.
Which also, back to your question,
LA.
LA. So it's a play on words, similar to Peppertint, but it's a play on words. It's a reference to a song called by Mark Morrison called Return of the Mac.
That is a fucking amazing song.
Yeah, it's so great. And so it's like old school hip hop. It's very nostalgic.
Yeah.
It brings me back to like LA days.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
I saw the logo. It looks very cool.
Yeah, well, thank you, man. It's so Return of Lemak. So it's like kind of like tagged, kind of like
like a graffiti tag.
which is kind of back to like hip hop and like growing up where hip hop is very prevalent when we were there in LA.
Yes.
And so it's paying homage to that time, and yeah, so it's like Lemak. We have a graffiti kind of Return of Lemak, like how people would graffiti write it, and yeah, so we have some Return of Lemak.
Awesome.
Nasi
Well,
Nasi
lemak.
lemak.
Remember to check out Peppertint and Kotan in
and
Base
then
Hall.
In Base Hall also Return of Lemak。
And Return of Lemak. Thank
咁啊，食
you.
嘢咯，係咯。
Great.
Yeah。